Hello, my name is Georgiann Davis, and I'm a sociologist at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. I'd like us to consider the question, are you having a boy or a girl? This all too common question seems simple, but in fact it's flawed. To begin with, it's based on an assumption that our genitals are markers of our gender. That is, whether we will identify as boys and later men, or identify as girls and later women, is based on what's between our legs. But our genitals do not dictate our gender. Although many like to think otherwise, the penis doesn't make the man, and the vagina doesn't make the woman. To put it another way, sex is not the same as gender. What does commonly happen, though, is that parents socialize their babies based on what's between their children's legs. Many parents, for example, dress their daughters in pink and their sons in blue. But parents aren't alone in gender socializing their children. Gender socialization happens all around us. We are taught by television shows, toy stores, clothing outlets, hair salons, and more about what is appropriate for girls and what is appropriate for boys. In other words, we are not born with our gender. We learn it. So it doesn't make much sense to ask one expecting a child if they are having a boy or a girl. Never mind the fact that gender is not binary, meaning gender is not as simple as boy or girl. There are many different ways for us to enact or perform our gender. And this performance can vary throughout our lives and even throughout a given day. The more appropriate question to ask an expectant parent is, are you having a baby with a penis or a vagina? On the surface, this question is much better than asking the boy or girl question. However, it too is dangerously flawed, for sex, often characterized by our genitals, chromosomes, and gonads, isn't as simple as male or female. Some people, for example, are born with XY chromosomes and have internal testes and a vagina. These folks have complete androgen insensitivity syndrome, or CAIS for short. CAIS is just one of many different types of intersex traits. However, it is the one that I'm both personally and professionally most familiar with. I was born with CAIS. I have a vagina and XY chromosomes. I also had testes before they were removed when I was a teenager because a girl isn't supposed to have them. I didn't know I had CAIS, nor did my family, until my internal anatomy was examined with medical imaging for an unrelated reason. When I was diagnosed, I wasn't told the truth about my body. Doctors lied to me about my intersex trait, and they encouraged my parents to do the same. Years later, when I obtained my medical records, I discovered the medical lies. I felt ashamed. I felt abnormal. I felt like a freak. Why did doctors remove my testes, the major producers of my sex hormones? Why did they lie to me and tell me that I had cancerous ovaries that needed to be removed? I threw my medical records into a dumpster, never wanting to see them or think about them again. But then I found myself, years down the road, sitting in a doctoral feminist sociology class reading about intersex traits in the intersex community. It was there in that doctoral seminar that I embarked on a sociological analysis of intersex in contemporary U.S. society. Since then, for about the last 10 or so years, I've been studying intersex. I wanted to know why intersex was renamed a disorder of sex development, and I wanted to know how intersex people felt about this nomenclature change. More generally, I wanted to know how intersex was understood, experienced, and contested in contemporary U.S. society. My answers to these questions and more can be found in my book, Contesting Intersex, the Dubious Diagnosis. I like to think my book is somewhat unique in that I integrate my personal experience with intersex throughout my sociological analysis of intersex. My analysis is based on in-depth interviews with intersex people, their parents, and medical providers all over the U.S. I traveled all across the country to interview people face-to-face, for I felt it was important to establish a level of comfort and trust difficult to accomplish through other means. Writing Contesting Intersex was a transformative personal and professional experience for me. I learned a lot about intersex and the intersex community, but I also learned a lot about myself. Next time you hear the question, are you having a boy or a girl? I hope you will interrupt and point out the many different ways that question is flawed. Bringing intersexing back. Yeah, you don't know how, the doctors don't know how to act. It's the unedited version. If you sign my book for the entire class, you get this version.